Why do narcissists often hold their genitals when they are alone? Have you ever observed someone who seems to radiate confidence and self-importance in public, yet in the solitude of their private world, they engage in peculiar behaviors that reveal a hidden side of their personality? Imagine catching a glimpse of a person so consumed with self-admiration and internal validation that they resort to a secret ritual, one that involves holding their genitals while alone, as if it were a private affirmation of their own worth. Today, we are going to explore one of the most intriguing and provocative aspects of narcissistic behavior. Why do narcissists often hold their genitals when they are alone? This is not merely an odd habit, but a window into the complex interplay between body image, self-validation, and the desperate need to maintain a grandiose self-image. In this discussion, we will delve into the hidden psychological dynamics behind this behavior, drawing on years of clinical observations, psychological research, and the insights of experts in personality disorders. Stay with me until the very end as we unpack this unusual phenomenon, using clear and accessible language to reveal how such actions, which may seem crude or inexplicable at first glance, are deeply connected to the inner workings of a narcissist's mind. Hello, welcome back to the Narcissist Exposed channel, to this in-depth exploration of a subject that challenges our assumptions about narcissistic behavior and human intimacy. I invite you to join me on this journey as we investigate why some individuals with narcissistic traits are observed engaging in the seemingly bizarre act of holding their genitals when they are alone. Before we dive into the discussion, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share it with anyone who might benefit from a deeper understanding of these complex psychological dynamics. Your support is invaluable in building a community that values empathy, self-awareness, and the pursuit of healing. In today's discussion, I will explain, drawing solely from my experience as a psychologist and supported by findings in behavioral psychology, how the behavior in question can be understood as a manifestation of internal conflict, self-soothing, and the desperate need for self-validation that characterizes narcissistic personality disorder. We will consider the origins of this behavior, its symbolic meaning, and what it reveals about the narcissist's inner life. Let's begin our exploration by considering the fundamental nature of narcissism and how it shapes even the most private, intimate moments. At the core of narcissistic personality disorder lies an overwhelming need for admiration and a meticulously constructed self-image that masks deep-seated insecurities. Narcissists spend years, sometimes from early childhood, developing an idealized image of themselves that demands constant external validation. Every interaction, every compliment, and every expression of admiration serves to temporarily reinforce that grandiose self-perception. However, when they find themselves alone and devoid of the usual external supply of validation, the narcissist's inner world can become an arena of both relief and torment. In these solitary moments, some narcissists engage in a peculiar behavior, holding their genitals. This act, at first glance, might appear as nothing more than a self-soothing gesture, but it carries with it layers of symbolic meaning. From a psychological perspective, this behavior can be seen as an intimate reaffirmation of self, a ritual designed to remind the narcissist of their own physicality and, by extension, their perceived superiority. Research in behavioral psychology suggests that certain self-focused behaviors, such as prolonged mirror gazing or repetitive grooming, are common among individuals with narcissistic traits. These actions serve as a means of self-validation, a way to continuously reinforce the ideal self that they strive so hard to project to the outside world. When a narcissist is alone, there is no audience to provide that external adoration, and the natural human response is to turn inward. In some cases, this inward focus may manifest in the form of physically holding one's genitals, which can be interpreted as a symbolic act of self-love and self-importance. It is as if, in the absence of others' admiration, the narcissist seeks to compensate by embracing the very source of their physical identity, a gesture that reinforces their belief in their own desirability and power. Moreover, this behavior may also be linked to the concept of narcissistic supply, the emotional fuel that narcissists require to sustain their fragile self-esteem. While narcissistic supply is typically garnered through interactions with others, the absence of such interactions in solitude leaves a void that some narcissists attempt to fill through self-stimulation and self-admiration. The act of holding one's genitals can be seen as a form of self-administered supply, a way to internally generate the sense of validation that they so desperately need. Clinical observations have noted that individuals with narcissistic traits often exhibit unusual self-soothing behaviors when external validation is not available, and this particular act may be an extreme example of that phenomenon. It is a private ritual that underscores the narcissist's deep-seated need to be constantly reminded of their own significance. A reminder that, even in isolation, they must never forget their worth. Another angle to consider is the element of control. Narcissists are notoriously driven by the need to control every aspect of their lives, including their bodies. Public displays of self-admiration are carefully choreographed performances meant to captivate an audience, but when alone, the dynamic changes drastically. There is no one else to perform for, and so the narcissist's self-regulatory behaviors take on a more introspective form. Holding their genitals may serve as a physical reminder of the power they believe they possess over their own identity and sexuality. In this context, the act can be viewed as a way to maintain control over their own narrative, even when the external validation is absent. The behavior becomes a symbol of self-empowerment, a statement that even in solitude, they are in charge of their own self-worth. Yet, this display of self-control is also tinged with desperation, as it highlights the narcissist's inability to derive satisfaction from genuine interpersonal relationships, a key element that often underlies their isolation and subsequent inner turmoil. Furthermore, there is an element of ritualistic behavior at play. Many individuals with narcissistic traits develop routines and rituals that help them manage the constant tension between their idealized self-image and the reality of their vulnerabilities. These rituals are a means of coping, a way to momentarily escape the internal conflict that plagues them. The act of holding their genitals when alone may be part of such a ritual, a behavior that, over time, becomes ingrained as a method of self-affirmation. It is not necessarily a conscious decision made in the moment, but rather a habitual response that has been reinforced over the years by the fleeting relief it provides. In a sense, the narcissist's private behavior becomes a coded language, one that speaks of their need for self-validation, control, and a desperate attempt to maintain an image of perfection even when the world is not watching. In addition to these psychological underpinnings, it is also important to consider the societal and cultural factors that might contribute to such behavior. In many cultures, there is a strong emphasis on physical appearance and sexual prowess as markers of success and desirability. For a narcissist, whose self-worth is often tied to these external ideals, the body becomes a battleground where every inch of physicality is scrutinized and, if necessary, manipulated to uphold the image of perfection. When alone, the narcissist might engage in behaviors that are aimed at reinforcing this idealized image, even if it means resorting to unconventional methods. Holding their genitals could, in this light, be interpreted as a form of self-congratulation, a private acknowledgement of their own sexual desirability that has been so heavily marketed as essential by society. This behavior is both a reflection of internalized societal values and a manifestation of the narcissist's own distorted sense of self. Moreover, the behavior may also be linked to deep-seated trauma and early experiences of neglect or abuse. Many narcissists have histories that include significant emotional or even physical trauma, which they have learned to cope with through the development of grandiose defenses. In some cases, these traumatic experiences can lead to the development of maladaptive self-soothing behaviors that manifest in unusual ways when the individual is alone. Holding their genitals might serve as a form of self-comfort, a way to physically connect with their own body in an effort to recreate a sense of safety and security that was absent in their early years. Such behaviors, while they may appear bizarre to an outside observer, are deeply rooted in the human need to heal from past wounds. Psychological research has long shown that trauma can significantly alter the way individuals interact with their own bodies, sometimes resulting in behaviors that are both self-soothing and self-destructive. In the case of narcissists, this behavior is intertwined with their constant need for validation and control, making it a complex and multifaceted phenomenon. From a clinical perspective, it is crucial to note that while the act of holding one's genitals when alone might be observed in some narcissists, it is not a universal behavior. Not every individual with narcissistic traits will exhibit this particular ritual, and its presence can vary widely based on personal history, cultural background, and the severity of the narcissistic pathology. However, for those who do engage in this behavior, it provides a unique insight into the inner workings of their psyche. It is a stark reminder of the immense pressure they place on themselves to uphold a facade of perfection, and it reveals the lengths to which they will go to secure a sense of self-worth in the absence of external validation. As a psychologist, I have seen how such behaviors, no matter how peculiar they may seem, are part of a broader tapestry of coping mechanisms developed in response to a lifetime of emotional neglect and abuse. They are not simply odd habits. They are symptomatic of the deeper, often unresolved, conflicts that define the narcissist's internal world. It is also important to understand that this behavior, like many aspects of narcissism, is not static. It can evolve over time and manifest differently depending on the context. For instance, a narcissist might engage in self-admiration and genital holding during moments of solitude as a way to recharge their self-esteem after a public encounter that did not go as planned. In other cases, it may occur during times of acute stress or when the narcissist is confronted with a failure that shakes their self-image. The variability in this behavior underscores the complex interplay between external circumstances and internal psychological states. Each instance is a small window into the ongoing struggle within, a struggle to balance the need for admiration with the fear of vulnerability, to maintain an illusion of control in a world that is inherently unpredictable. Furthermore, the act of holding one's genitals can also be seen as a physical metaphor for the narcissist's relationship with their own sexuality. Narcissists often view their bodies as extensions of their self-worth, and their sexuality is a critical part of the grandiose image they project to the world. In public, they may be overtly flirtatious, using their sexual appeal as a tool for manipulation and control. However, in private, when there is no audience to validate this aspect of their identity, the narcissist may turn inward and engage in behaviors that serve as a reminder of their own sexual prowess. This inward focus is not merely self-indulgence. It is a complex interplay of desire, fear, and the need for self-assurance. The private ritual of holding their genitals can provide a temporary boost to their self-esteem, a reminder that even in isolation, they remain a powerful and desirable being. Yet, this behavior also highlights the inherent emptiness at the heart of narcissism, a dependence on self-generated validation that, over time, can lead to profound internal dissonance and self-loathing. In examining these behaviors, it is essential to approach the topic with both scientific rigor and compassionate understanding. Narcissism, as a personality disorder, is characterized by a deep-seated need for external validation, an inability to tolerate criticism, and a tendency to view oneself as superior to others. These traits, while they may confer certain social advantages in the short term, ultimately lead to a host of maladaptive behaviors that are both self-destructive and isolating. The behavior of holding one's genitals when alone is one such maladaptive response, a ritual born out of the narcissist's desperate need to maintain a sense of self-worth in the absence of external admiration. Clinical studies and case observations have repeatedly shown that such behaviors are not merely bizarre or attention-seeking. They are symptomatic of the underlying turmoil that defines the narcissist's internal world. When stripped of the constant reinforcement provided by others, the narcissist is forced to confront the fragile, often disintegrating nature of their self-image. A confrontation that manifests in these deeply personal and, frankly, disturbing rituals. It is also critical to recognize that these behaviors do not occur in a vacuum. They are part of a broader pattern of self-focused actions that narcissists engage in when they are alone. Other related behaviors might include excessive mirror gazing, compulsive grooming, and even secretive journaling of their achievements and failures. All actions that serve to reinforce the grandiose self that they so desperately cling to. Together, these behaviors form a complex tapestry that speaks to the profound disconnect between the narcissist's public persona and their private reality. They are a manifestation of a mind that is constantly at war with itself, struggling to reconcile the image of perfection it projects with the painful, often unacknowledged, imperfections that lie beneath. Understanding this disconnect is crucial for anyone seeking to comprehend the full impact of narcissistic pathology on an individual's behavior. Moreover, it is important to address the social implications of these private behaviors. For those who live or interact with narcissists, witnessing such actions, even if only indirectly, can be deeply unsettling. It challenges the carefully constructed image of the narcissist as a confident, self-assured individual, revealing instead a person who is profoundly insecure and in constant need of self-affirmation. This revelation can have significant consequences for relationships, as it undermines the trust and admiration that the narcissist has worked so hard to cultivate. When a narcissist is forced to confront their inner vulnerability, even in private, it often leads to a cascade of defensive behaviors designed to hide this perceived weakness from the public eye. The cycle of self-admiration, internal conflict, and subsequent ritualistic behavior becomes a hidden narrative that, when eventually exposed, can lead to interpersonal fallout and further isolation. In this way, the behavior of holding one's genitals when alone is not merely a solitary act, but a microcosm of the broader challenges faced by narcissists in maintaining a facade of perfection in an imperfect world. As we reflect on the various facets of this behavior, it becomes clear that the act of holding one's genitals when alone is a deeply symbolic and multifaceted phenomenon. It is a ritual that encapsulates the narcissist's internal struggle for validation, control, and identity. It is both a moment of private self-affirmation and a distressing reminder of the inherent emptiness that comes from relying solely on self-generated praise. While it may seem shocking or even repulsive to the uninitiated, it is a behavior that provides critical insights into the psychological makeup of narcissistic individuals. By understanding the origins and implications of this behavior, we can gain a clearer picture of the long-term consequences of narcissistic abuse, not only for the narcissist themselves, but also for those who have been affected by their actions. It is important to stress that not all individuals with narcissistic traits will exhibit this specific behavior, and its presence does not define the entirety of a narcissist's personality. However, for those who do engage in such actions, it serves as a stark illustration of the lengths to which the need for validation and control can distort normal human behavior. The ritualistic nature of this act speaks volumes about the internal chaos that lies beneath the surface, a chaos that is fueled by a lifetime of unmet emotional needs, constant self-scrutiny, and the relentless pressure to maintain an illusion of perfection. In the language of clinical psychology, these behaviors are symptomatic of deep-seated personality disorders that require careful intervention and, often, long-term therapy to address. In closing, the peculiar and unsettling behavior of holding one's genitals when alone, while it may be shocking to hear about, offers a window into the troubled inner world of narcissists. It is a behavior rooted in the desperate need for self-validation, the fear of vulnerability, and the ongoing battle to maintain a grandiose self-image in the face of internal emptiness. As we have explored, this behavior, along with its related manifestations, is not merely an odd habit but a profound expression of the psychological turmoil that defines narcissistic personality disorder. For those of us seeking to understand the deeper implications of narcissistic abuse, recognizing these hidden rituals can be an important step in unraveling the complex web of behaviors that narcissists use to protect themselves, and, in doing so, ultimately hurt those around them. Thank you for staying with me through this comprehensive exploration of why narcissists often hold their genitals when they are alone. I truly appreciate your time and engagement as we navigated these intricate psychological dynamics together. If you found this discussion enlightening, thought-provoking, or even just a bit empowering in understanding the hidden behaviors of narcissists, please consider subscribing to our channel, liking this video, and sharing it with anyone who might benefit from these insights. Your support is invaluable in building a community that values empathy, self-awareness, and the pursuit of emotional healing. I invite you to leave your thoughts, experiences, and comments below so that we may continue this conversation and help each other gain further clarity on the complex interplay between trauma, identity, and self-validation in narcissistic behavior. Thank you once again for your attention, and I look forward to continuing this journey with you in future discussions as we explore more transformative topics that promote healing, emotional resilience, and lasting change.